Hey gang, Anthony Fontana here, alive after 5. Just wanted to touch base with everybody. If you haven't heard yet, the stimulus package for the COVID-19 stimulus bill that was negotiated in good faith between both sides of Congress was basically signed off on today. I guess they have to create the actual law for this now and get it into a bill and get it signed and sent over to the president for his signature. So what I want to do tonight, boy, oh boy, this signal, I hope the signal doesn't die. Please forgive me. I'm going to get really frustrated if it does. Wi-Fi here is at 1,000%, but there is some interference from other signals outside my house. So anyway, so let's talk about this a little bit. The impact is going to be excellent, I think, for us. Well, because we're the ones that are paying for it ultimately as taxpayers, right? But here's how it's going to work. This is what I read, what I've heard, and what I've analyzed. So the numbers are going to fall somewhere around here. If you're an adult, $1,200 per adult. $500 for kids. So a family of 4 should be looking at approximately $3,400, right? So here's how that works. It is tied to, originally they tied it to, if you didn't make any money and you didn't file a return, you got nothing, which was kind of didn't make any sense to me or anybody else. So they kind of revamped that. They did put a criteria on there that it will phase out. So a single person, no kids, 75,000 to 99,999, I think, and it'll start to phase out to 0. And if you're a married couple, that phase out hits, I think, 198,999 or whatever. So there is still going to be a phase out, and I think that's a fair way to approach it. But I also feel very strongly that if someone does not have a lot of income, they should still be able to get a check. How that works, I don't know. So how they're going to work this out in looking at how these things usually get funded, they are going to look at 2018 tax returns. Wherever those numbers fell, those numbers and those returns are going to be the basis for exactly how they'll calculate what they can pay now, because they're going to look back in time. Now, there are people that have already filed. 45 million, about half the country has already filed their return. So those people that have already filed, it's the 19 return that will take precedence. So if you made more in 18, less than 19, and you're still in the range, great, you're going to get a check or a deposit. If you made less in 18 and more in 19 and you already filed, sorry to tell you this, that's just the way the cookie's going to crumble. It is what it is. But the majority of Americans will be seeing payments from this $500 billion monstrosity that they negotiated. I think it's good news. You know, we can nickel and dime it. I've heard people say, well, it's not enough. Well, we're getting something, right? So people are getting something, and we need to accept that on its face as a blessing. We're going to get through this as the numbers start to peak and shift on down. The country is going to start getting back to work over the next couple of weeks. The economy will start to rebound. The stock market's already seeing very positive results over just 2 days, and I think that's going to continue. So 75 to 99,000 and change. Now, I believe they're going to reconcile things after the fact. They're going to look at people's incomes this year. So if you get a check, it is possible that next year they may attempt to try to take back a piece of that in a future refund. Between you and me, that's kind of typical of where the federal government works. It's kind of stupid, in my opinion. I don't think that will happen, but it could happen. Take the money now and enjoy it. Now, my clients, the people that I'm working with getting tax returns out, if you have refunds coming, get those returns in, get on the phone with your preparer, get on the phone with me. Let's get those returns done over the next 48 to 72 hours. Don't wait because you want them to use last year's income. Get your refunds done now. Okay, the extensions are perfect for people that owe money and don't want to pay on April 15 and can't pay on April 15. They will be able to pay on July 15. But if you already have your data, file the returns. Now, many of my clients have K1s from partnerships, from S-Corps that I'm not involved in. Those numbers have not come in yet. They'll need extensions, but just got off the phone with one client that said, file my return. We can always amend it when the actual K1 arrives. I have an estimate of what the number is. Let's get it in. I need my refund. And we're going to do that tonight. We're going to file that return. So depending on your situation, you may decide to wait or not wait. If it was me, file the return wherever the cookie crumbles, wherever the chips fall, whatever, phrase you want to use, you're probably going to get a check. I think they're going to pay them through IRS systems, because IRS pretty much has a lot of this data. You may have to go, they may create some website where you have to go in and put in your payment information so you can get paid. That's pretty much the summary of the $1,200 stimulus piece. A lot of people are going to get a couple of bucks. Not a big deal. And it could extend. They could do it 1 month and then do it another month and maybe 3 months. We just don't know. I don't think they will. I don't think they'll have to, because people will get back to work. But let's see what happens with that. On the unemployment piece, this was a big one because this has been just not yet done. They have extended unemployment. They've added a $600 piece to the normal state piece. So unless that changes, or that was an error, or they need to kind of bring that down a little bit, they're taking your state piece. If it's $400 a week, it's $1,000. Now, let's be realistic. If you're in an area where your job was $36,000 a year, literally it's actually better to stay home and make $52,000 a year. So I think that was a mistake in how they coded the bill. I think they're going to try to do it in such a way that whatever you make, you'll get. Like, they'll try to balance where you're at. How they'll document, I honestly, God, don't know how they'll do that. For those that have wage income, it's pretty straightforward. Your wages are pretty verifiable. Just file. You're in the system somewhere, and I'm sure there's ways to coordinate that and figure it out. So they're probably going to amend that piece of the bill, which is why they're in session. And if they do, you're still going to make money. You're still going to get the ability to collect unemployment. Here's the big one. This one is huge. For self-employed individuals, and again, I don't have details on how they'll know what to pay those of you that are self-employed. Tax returns, I don't know. I have no idea. Some people showed no income last year, but they're making money this year, and now they have nothing. So I really don't know. There may be a floor, there may be a limit. I really don't know. They may actually give you the money and then try to take it back next year if you made too little or whatever. I don't know. But the filing for that is tricky. I went to the New York State site because that's the only one I could think of going to, and there's a whole bunch of questions if you want to apply for unemployment. And in the very beginning, it asks you if you're self-employed, if you're the employer of yourself, etc. And I think it caused it to crash. I don't think they're ready yet, because I don't think the funds are in place yet to do this. So it will happen. It will absolutely happen. So my self-employed brothers and sisters, there will be some relief coming into play. I think it's fantastic news, and I think they're even looking to extend that a few weeks further and further until things get back to normal. So if you haven't filed yet, if you go to your state site and you can put your unemployment claim in, go and do it. And if it gives you the ability to check self-employed and it keeps going, then go do it. Get yourself into the system. At least get registered on your state's unemployment site, because I think just the registration alone is difficult. The systems are crashing left and right. It's a challenge. But if you go in, go late at night, early in the morning, I don't know. All I know is that people are converging on the systems, and it overwhelms unemployment departments, because they don't usually have a lot of people working for them, because it's kind of automated anyway. Their phones are blowing up. They have 1,000% increase in phone calls and in web postings and web requests, and it's out of control. Get on your site and get that done. Do yourself a favor to do that. So, on the mortgage side, we've talked about this a million times. Call your servicer. Call your servicer. I'll say it a third time. Call your servicer. Do not just not make your payment. If you're with some of the bigger lenders, Bank of America, I know, is doing this. They're extending payments 90 days, and they're shoving them onto the back end of the loan. But if you don't call, not happening. You don't make your payment, You're going to be called late. You're going to have a problem. Don't do that. They won't report to credit bureaus, and they will give you that extension. I believe Citi with Cenlar, Chase will do it. Wells will more likely do it. These are the big boys. The smaller mortgage banks, that's where 61% of mortgages originate. They don't have the ability to say, don't worry about paying us 30 years from now. We're good. They might have a different process. They may say, hey, we'll give you 90 days, but in the 91st day, you're going to need all your money up front. I don't know. That may revolve around them agreeing to do that, you agreeing to do that with the assumption that you'll be putting in a loan modification. And a loan modification can easily take deferred payments and put them on the back of the loan. It's one of the things that I do as one of my side gigs, and it's not that difficult if you know what you're doing, but it does take 30 to 45 days to process those things. So there's a whole gamut of things that have to go on if your bank does not do what I say they're going to do. That's something to think about right there. But call your servicer, get the skinny from them, and then let me know what they tell you so I have more information, because I can't call all these servicers. I just don't have the time. So if you let me know, I can help you guys out. All right, so I love this one. Student loans. Woo, drum roll, student loans. Basically, as you know, they've suspended interest on student loans, 0% for 60 days. I think from March 13th or March 1st. So 60 days, no interest on the student loans. That's okay. That's okay. Good news, right? But the payments, they've also suspended the payments on student loans for 60 days. They've suspended payments on student loans. So if you're making your payment, you won't have to make the payment. The interest rate thing is pretty much automated. If you're getting the 60-day suspension of payment, you need to call the servicer. Nelnet, whoever you're using, all these different companies, call the servicer. These are for federal loans only, not private ones, but federal. You have to ask for an administrative waiver for those payments. They press a button and you have the administrative waiver. Very easy to do. It's done all the time. You'll be able to get that waiver of payments. Here's the big one right here. Student loan collections. There's a lot of people that are in default on their loans, and they get letters and notices and phone calls, and that has to stop now. 60 days from March 13th. No collections, no pursuit, no nothing. And this next one is the big one. They are suspending the what's called the pullback of IRS refunds. So if you have a refund and you owe them, and they've declared you in default, and you owe $10,000, you have a $5,000 refund, they've been clawing back those refunds. IRS has been pulling them back and paying the student loans for the states directly. They're paying them off. Unbelievable, right? I've had a couple of clients that happened to. No choice. Here's the deal. They're suspending that activity. Betsy DeVos has ordered, the Education Department has ordered the Treasury to refund $1.8 billion worth of clawed back student loan payments this year. So from what I can tell, it's anyone that got a student loan payment taken, a tax refund taken back by IRS to give to, the student loan companies. Unbelievable that they do that. They are suspending that, and they're going to reverse those back out. It says March 13th, but it doesn't say if you filed prior to March 13th and had a clawback, do you get your refund? I believe that is the case, because the money that gets clawed back goes into a pool. Eventually, it makes its way to the student loan enterprise, Nelnet, or whatever. So I believe that if you've already filed this year and you've had that taken from your refund, if you were supposed to get X and you got Y reduced by thousands, then you should be able to get that money back. But I don't know how they'll do that or if they'll do that. But $1.8 billion sounds like a hell of a lot of money to me. And it sounds like that they've impacted a lot of the people that already filed. Because again, half the country has already filed. And let's be realistic, half the country doesn't have student loans in default. So I'm pretty confident that if you've had money taken from you, some people say stolen, they've had taken money from you, they're going to reimburse you for that money. All right, we'll try to get some more clarity on that. Let's see if I can get IRS on the phone tomorrow and ask them the question and see if they can give me some answers, because this is just what I hear and what I read. I just don't know. So last thing, actually, I think that's pretty much it. Let's see. Well, I'm going to wrap it up because I think I've covered what I needed to cover for tonight. So expect a check. More likely should be automated. If you've already filed your return, God bless. If you haven't already filed it, for crying out loud, get your refund, get your money back. Let's do that now. Let's get you some cash because you'll still get this money. There's no question about that. So I hope that helps a little bit. Hi, Christine. Hey, Scott. Hi, Marguerite. How are you, Pamela? Hi, Tina. What's going on? Ophelia, Lori, and Caleb. Ophelia's in the house. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Well, I think, Kathy, if you're referring to people that have S Corp and pay themselves a salary, then, and of course you can't pay yourself a salary because there's no money coming in, then I believe it'll be based on salary. If you're talking about those $1,200 checks. Yeah, I think it's got to be based on something that's realistic. If someone has not, if someone has filed a return last year at a loss on a corporate entity, I don't think it's fair that they don't get that check. I just don't see it. And on the unemployment side, we're already into April in a couple of more days, right? So a third of the year is already gone, right? So a lot of money has been lost this year because of this thing, literally from January. So there's a lot of people that are out tens of thousands of dollars. So I think, in my opinion, that they're going to be looking at they're just going to grant it to self-employed people as a rule, give them the whatever they can check off as what they earned, if there's a way to prove that. And I think they may look to claw some of that back as time goes on and people actually file. I honestly, God, there's no answer. I can't get an answer from anybody, but that's what I think is going to happen. And I think it's fair. I think it's reasonable. Hey, Debbie. And I think it's... Hey, Robert. You're so cute. Osvaldo, how are you? Hey, Jimmy. What's going on, brother? So that's just my impression of it, how this is going to work. It's a moving target, right? I can't say hi to everybody. I'm so sorry. So many of you are in here. Susan's in here. Mark, how are you guys? Okay, so let the dust settle for the next couple of days. We're going to get some more clarity on... I think the unemployment was a big one. I think a lot of people are going to qualify for that. I think that's a game changer right now. These checks that are going out, I expect those checks sometime in April. The original stimulus checks from under the Bush administration didn't even arrive until like May. I don't even remember how much they were, but it was like May. I don't think this will take that long, but I think they're going to have to put some systems in where they can actually generate those payments. And, they really have to look at what people have filed. So someone that's on Social Security that has no other income and didn't file a return, they should get something. There's no question about it. They should get some kind of a payment. They should get the full amount, to be real honest with you, and disability also. So those people don't file returns on average, and they deserve to get a check. So hopefully it works itself out. Anybody has any questions or anything that they need to ask me, inbox me. That'll be great. I don't want to keep people on it too long. I'm already running over on this one, but anything I can do to help, reach out and ask. We love you guys. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this mess. It's just got to go through the process. I think we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And financially, it's going to be welcome news over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So make the phone calls. Oh, credit cards. Call your credit card companies too if you need a deferment. That's an unknown. They're not publicizing any processes, but I think they will help you maybe extend those payments out that are coming due this month and next month. So with that, have a great night, guys. Anything I can do for you, let me know, and I'll be happy to chat with you guys at a later date or tonight. But I'll be around all night, 20-hour days. Love you guys. Have a great night.